Alright, to finish up this logo, we are going to need a circle around it. We're going to need some waves in there, and then we are going to need the text. So, let's start with the large circle for the logo. We're just going to make sure we've got our ellipse tool selected on the on the shape tool. I always call that tool. And then I'm going to go up to where I want the circle to start, and left to where I want it to start on that side. Hold down Shift to make a round circle, and make it approximately the size we need it to be. You can see it happens on the top of everything, so we will just drag it down for now to the very bottom, and use the arrow keys to nudge it around, get it in the correct location. We're actually going to put it a little lower than it looks like it should go right now, because I'm going to put some waves in there. And you can see we've got a conflict of color interests here. I think what would look better for me is if we were to go in and adjust the gradient of the boat. So it's already a gradient, and your gradient tool doesn't appear to be around anywhere. But if you ignore that, if you were to click on this gradient tool right here, it lets you see what you've already got going on for that gradient. It's those same little tabs that you had originally. So I'm going to double click on this one. I'm going to change it to a light orangish color. I'm going to go in and double click on this one, change it to a medium orangish color. And of course the one on the bottom, you need to make it a little more rusty. There you go. The one on the bottom, we're going to click on this and change it to a dark purple color. I'm kidding, dark orange color. That was so hilarious. Anyway, I'm sorry. So we've got it where it stands out against the background a lot more brightly than before. In this background, I would also like to put a gradient on it. It's already kind of got one going on, but we want to be able to adjust that. So it's just kind of taken on that same look as before. I want to go to my gradient tool again and make a nice lighter sky blue on top. Give myself a middle blue in the middle. I'll adjust it so I don't want it to be too deep. I don't want the back to be overwhelming. And I'm going to just leave this bottom part dark. I'm going to change it to a bit more greenish here. So we're looking like we're more of a swampy sort of tour going on. Perfect, that's a nice looking circle. Now we need some waves to go around this underneath here. And I could, of course, make some waves with the pen tool and just kind of make them as best as I can to kind of adjust it to look like waves, but I'm not going to be very consistent. My waves are, well, these are awful waves, honestly, but they're not consistently the same shape. I want my logo to look very clean and not too random. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to start with a guideline. I'm going to just stick a rectangle in there so that I know I've got a straight line pretty much to work with. So when I start my wave, I'm going to let it start right on the path of the rectangle. So when I start my wave, I'm going to start it just right above. If you click right on the path there, it'll actually blend it into this rectangle, which I don't want. So I'm going to just go right above, start my wave there, go to the top of my wave, give it a curve. I'm going to go down here, make sure that it is at the same level as my first point. You can see it is because it aligns with that pink line, that guideline. I'm going to drag that over so my waves got kind of a low point in it there. And that's basically where I'm going to have them hooked together. So now I'm actually going to just create the upper portion of my wave, and you'll see why in a moment. Because I'm going to go to my selection tool, and I'm just going to hold down Alt and click my right arrow to make a copy of my wave. Why did it only make that? What? So with my selection tool, I'm going to hold down Alt. I'm just going to drag out another copy of this wave. And I'm going to line it up so that this new wave, oh gosh, again. So I'm going to hold down Alt, and I'm just going to click my wave and drag it, and because I'm holding down Alt, it creates a copy. And then I'm going to adjust this copy so that it's sitting right on top of our rectangle. That's why we had the rectangle guide to start with. And it lines right up, so we have a smooth curve between each of those. And I will be able to do that multiple times to get myself enough nice waves. And that up there. And I have several good waves going on. I might even throw an extra one here just in case. I want to make sure that it's long enough to cover what I need it to cover. Sometimes that happens. When you hold down the Alt key but don't let it go before you adjust it, sometimes it actually doesn't copy, but it moves it instead, which is kind of annoying. So now I'm going to select all of those by holding down Shift. I'm going to combine them, unite them with this shape here, this Pathfinder tool. And now I've got all these nice waves that are consistent. They've got this obnoxious little dealio going on the bottom there. But I can go in, and that obnoxious deal is because I've got two anchors where they combine. There's an anchor, and there's an anchor. And I can actually hit my minus key, and it will turn my pen into a delete anchor point tool. And I can go in, and I can just say, I don't want to have this bottom anchor point. I do have to do that to each of them. But in this case, it's not too tricky because I've only got 5 waves going on. Once I've deleted each of those anchor points, my wave should be beautiful and smooth and ready to go. I can go back to my selection tool, and I'm actually going to use this as a shape to cut out the top of my wave. So we'll use our rectangle that we've got here. Stretch out the rectangle as long as we need it to be, so that it goes under the entire wave. And we'll just select both of them, use our Pathfinder tool to get rid of the front, minus the front, and we've got our waves now. I don't want them to have a gradient, so while I'm thinking about it, I'm just going to make them kind of swampy colored. There we go. Let's compare how it looks over here. Some swampy colored waves going on. Not too bad, I might want to adjust it afterwards. Alright, turns out I actually needed another wave on there. But I don't want to have to deal with that. I can just grab the anchor points, expand it beyond my circle, take these multiple anchor points, and you holding down Control to grab those multiple anchor points. Come on. So to adjust it to my circle, I can just grab my direct selection tool, click on a single anchor at a time, drag it out so that it's covering up my entire circle as I need it to. This one I wanted to just kind of smoothly go out of the circle. Over here we got kind of a mess going on. I just had it curve nicely out of our picture here. Alright, and then we have the water basically where we need it. We need to take it up a bit more so that the boat's actually in the water. So we've got our water in there, but it doesn't look great. The bottom of this wave, or the top of this wave, goes right up against the alligator's teeth. There's this funny point that almost hits the wave, but doesn't quite. So I want to do some adjustments here. I'm going to take my selection tool, And to start out with, I'm just going to kind of stretch this because I like the idea of the curve of this wave kind of working well with the curve of the alligator's jaw. And it already looks better like that. So if we adjust it there, good, so we can get a good idea that it's an alligator's jaw coming up there without having things in the way. And then I would like to adjust this point right here to make that fit a little bit cleaner. And we can do that with the direct selection tool right up there. We can grab the individual anchor points and move them over more where we would like them to be. Just have it kind of curve into there more smoothly. Alright, and there is also this going on right here. You'll notice the bottom of the boat, that line, is visible above the waves, and it just gives it a really thick sort of a line going on there. So what I want to do for that is take the anchor point of the boat and just shift it down some so that it's hidden behind the waves. We can, even if we're finicky, move this one down as well to keep it level. Great, that's looking a lot better. We need to cut out the waves so that they only fit inside of the circle. So I'm going to grab the circle. I'm going to put Control C to copy, Control F to paste it in front of where it is, exactly in the same spot. Then I am going to grab with Shift the waves as well as that. I'm going to use my Pathfinder tool again, and I want the area where they overlap, they intersect right there. And I'll click that, and my circle fits beautifully, or my waves fit beautifully inside of my circle. Alrighty. Sweet. There is a little thing that's bugging me right here. That. So let's make that beautiful. Alright, finally, all we really need is our text to go in there. I'm going to grab my text tool that looks just like this, type tool. I'm going to draw a box that fits right in there. And to give you some example text, I'm just going to put Adventure Tours. Wonderful. And I'm going to go back in, make them on a separate line just by hitting the Enter key. Then I'll highlight these. And I need some way to be able to edit them. I need to go into Window. I'm going to go down here to my Type window. And that has a lot of options when dealing with type. The one I'm going to need the most is the Character window. So if I open that up, I have all your normal word processing choices. I get to choose a font that looks adventurous to me. Maybe I'll make it larger first so we can see it better. So you can adjust the size however you need it to be. And let's see, what looks adventurous? I don't want to spend too long. That looks fairly adventurous, right? Maybe. Alright, choose whatever you would like. I'm going to choose this for the moment. It should fit the mood of your company, definitely. So now, I'll adjust the size a bit more. And I can, if I really need to, I can adjust the size of this leading here, which is how far apart each line is. I can adjust how far apart each letter is if I don't want to make my text any bigger, but I want it to stretch out further. I can do that. And other things you can adjust as well. That'll be pretty good, actually. I'm going to adjust it down a little bit with my arrow keys after I selected the selection tool. And if I want to go back and adjust my font at all, I have to go back to my type tool and then I can reselect it. I think it wouldn't hurt to make it a bit bigger. And we can adjust our color just like you would adjust it for any other thing. It does make it a nice golden-y color. Let's see how that looks. Not very visible. So that's an important thing to think about when you're choosing text colors, is you want it to be very visible to the user. So if we make it much darker, that stands out much better, but the color's kind of ugly for this situation. Maybe if we instead do a dark blue. It could blend in with all the other blue that we've got going on there. And it looks alright, not bad at all. Now you want to make sure that your text, your font looks just how you want it to, because now we need to turn it into an image. Right now it's still text. We can only edit it with the text tool. And I want to be able to do all the other things that I can do with the different objects on here with that text. So I'm going to select it with the selection tool. And I need to go up to my menu here. And I'm going to go to Object and Expand. What Expand does is it basically draws a line around the outside, turns it into shapes. I want to keep both my object and the fill, expand them both, and you just hit OK, and all of a sudden it's not text anymore. It is a group of objects. So if I click on that and check my layers, I can see it has been made into a group, and each piece of that group is one of my letters. And I can select each of them individually if I would like, and just do something to that U. I could make each of them a different color if I felt like. You could have the U be bright green. You can adjust all of them as much as you want. I think I will keep mine all together and select it as a group. So now that we've got our text all ready to go, I would like to add an outline to it, an extra stroke to it, so that it stands out more against the background. So you can click on it and you'll go to your Appearance tab. And over here, if you have a single object, what you would normally do is just add a new stroke to it. And you can make it whatever color you want. You can make it bigger. But what we've got going on now is, as you can see, as your line gets thicker around the outside, it hides the internal color because it's centering on the outline. And normally, if you have a single object, what you would do is click on Stroke, and you would align it to the outside of your shape instead of having it centered on the outside of your shape. But that is not available because we're working with a group. So what I'm going to do instead is just toss that stroke away. And if you go, this is kind of not intuitive at all. You just have to actually learn this from somebody else. But you double click on Contents, and it'll switch from the individual sort of characteristics to the group characteristics. So now we can add a stroke here. It's transparent at the moment, but if I want to make it a nice kind of golden color, I can make it bigger. You can see it's not filling up the inside. If it is, you can go in and make that adjustment. Hit Stroke and just select to align it to the outside. If we have it aligned along the edge, centered along the edge, it covers up most of our interior. Or we can align it to the inside, and that just covers up the whole interior. But if we put it along the outside, we can have all of our internal fill, then we can have our outline on the outside. And we can adjust that to a size that looks appropriate for our picture. Wonderful. So we've basically got our logo here. We can make any adjustments that we need to, because these are all vectors now. And if it turns out that you need to make adjustment to one specific thing and the rest of it is coming along with you, you want to just focus on that one thing, there's something called isolation mode, where you double click on an object, and then you're able to, everything else just gets kind of whited out, and you're able to choose that individual object, and you can do whatever you want with it, even if it's in a group like in this case. And as you can see, this is definitely no longer text, right? It's an image or a vector. And to get out of isolation mode, you just double click outside of your selected objects and you are back. So, beautiful. If you made it this far, you've completed the logo. The last thing to do is go in and hide our background, so we're not looking at that image anymore. And we should adjust our canvas, or our artboard it's called, to fit our logo. So our artboard tool is right here. We'll click on that. And this is good for making additional artboards if you want to. Or you can just click on the one you've got, and you can adjust it down to precisely fit your logo, so that when you export it, you don't get a lot of extra white space. And take your time to get it all nicely on there. And there you go. In order to submit this to me, I'll need you to export it as an image file. So to export, all you have to do is go up to File, scroll down to Export, and go to Export As. This will give you the option to save it as various different images. PNG is a great one to do. And give it a name, like Adventure Tours Tutorial. If you choose to use artboards, this is useful if you have a lot of different artboards with different things on them. You can choose to just export artboard 1, and it will only take what's on artboard 1. This can also help you if you've accidentally got some little thing drawn off to the corner that you didn't realize because it's invisible, or you've just thrown a tiny line over there somewhere, and it tries to export that as part of the whole picture. If you just hit the artboard, it'll only give you what's on the artboard. Then you hit export, and you get to decide how big to make it. I would like to see some high resolution versions of yours. 300 pixels per inch is a good printing size if you're only going to use it on your screen. 72 pixels per inch is good, and medium is in between. Background color transparent, I like that, and PNG lets you leave it transparent. So if I were to use this on my website, it would look like a round graphic instead of a square one, because the corners would be invisible and hidden. Then you just hit OK. So you will just go to your email, create a new document or a new email to me, and attach that and send it along so I can give you a grade for completing the tutorials. Good job. Go pat somebody on the back and have a good day.